Tomorrow, Noah Bennett won't be my boyfriend anymore, and somehow that feels like losing something I was never supposed to have. That was the first thought in my head when I opened my eyes at 6:17 on Sunday morning and saw the pale blue light of dawn slipping through the blinds. Noah was asleep on the other side of the bed, fully dressed except for his shoes, one arm folded beneath his head after we'd stayed up talking far later than either of us intended. There were nearly 3 feet between us, but somehow the distance felt smaller than it had 6 days ago when we could barely stand beside each other without making some sarcastic comment. My phone rested face down on the nightstand. I already knew what the screen would say before I reached for it. Day 7. 2 words that shouldn't have mattered. 7 days ago, this whole thing had been a joke, an arrangement, the kind of ridiculous situation I'd expected to laugh about someday at Thanksgiving while my brother Ryan embarrassed me in front of the entire family. 7 days. That was the deal. Noah needed a boyfriend, temporarily. I happened to be standing in the wrong place at exactly the wrong moment. Simple. Except nothing about Noah felt simple anymore. I looked toward him again. His light brown hair was messy from sleep, falling across his forehead, and his face had lost the mischievous expression he usually wore whenever he was preparing to annoy me. Sleeping Noah looked quieter, younger somehow, but not like the kid I remembered. That was the problem. For years, Noah had existed in my mind as Claire's little brother. My sister-in-law's annoying shadow who showed up at family cookouts, stole fries from my plate, and once replaced my phone wallpaper with a picture of a llama. Then he went away to college, and somewhere during those years, apparently without asking my permission, Noah Bennett grew up. I hadn't really noticed until last Sunday. Now I noticed everything. The way he tapped his fingers against a coffee cup when he was nervous. The way he photographed ordinary things because he insisted ordinary things disappeared faster than important ones. The way his smile changed when it was real. I hated that. I knew these things. I hated even more that tomorrow I wouldn't have any reason to keep learning them. Noah shifted beneath the blanket and slowly opened his eyes. For a second, he simply looked at me. "You're staring again, Ethan." His voice was rough with sleep. "I'm not staring. You've been saying that all week." I set my phone down. "Go back to sleep." Noah smiled, but something behind it felt strangely sad. "Can't. Big debt." My chest tightened. Day 7. The final day. By tomorrow morning, Noah would be gone. Our ridiculous agreement would be finished, and I could return to the quiet, predictable life I'd spent years building. That was exactly what I wanted. At least, that was what I'd told myself. Noah sat up and glanced toward my phone. "So," he said softly, "we actually made it." I forced a smile. "Almost." Neither of us said what came after almost. Maybe because we both already knew. And maybe because neither of us was ready to admit that 7 days earlier, when Noah Bennett looked across my brother's crowded dining room, grabbed my arm, and announced to everyone, "This is my boyfriend," the countdown hadn't started toward the end of something. It had started toward the moment everything in my life would change. 7 days earlier, I had arrived at Ryan and Claire's house expecting nothing more dangerous than overcooked burgers and my brother asking why I was still single. Their place sat on a quiet street outside Seattle, the kind of neighborhood where every lawn looked suspiciously perfect and everyone seemed to own the same stainless steel grill. I was carrying a grocery store pie when Claire opened the door and immediately pulled me into the organized chaos of a family dinner. Ryan was arguing with the grill in the backyard. Music played from a speaker near the kitchen, and 3 conversations seemed to be happening at once. Then I saw Noah. He was standing beside the refrigerator with a camera hanging from one shoulder, laughing at something Claire had said. I stopped walking. In my memory, Noah Bennett was the 19-year-old menace who stole food from my plate and treated irritating me like a competitive sport. The man standing across the kitchen was 23 now, taller than I remembered, with light brown hair, clear blue eyes, and the same impossible smile. Noah noticed me staring almost immediately. Of course he did. "Ethan Walker," he said, walking over. "You look exactly the same." That sounds insulting. It was supposed to. There he was. Definitely still Noah. Claire called him away before I could answer, and I told myself the strange hesitation in my chest meant nothing. For the next hour, I avoided him with embarrassing precision. Then a guy named Logan Pierce arrived. Claire introduced Logan as an old family friend, but the moment Noah saw him, his smile tightened. Logan was friendly enough, although he seemed unusually interested in Noah's plans. You are still coming with me Friday, right? Logan asked. Noah glanced around as if searching for an emergency exit. Instead, his eyes landed on me. I should have recognized that expression. I had seen it right before the llama incident. Noah crossed the room, slipped his hand around my arm, and said, "Actually, I cannot. My boyfriend and I already have plans." The kitchen went silent in the specific way only a family kitchen can when everyone has just discovered information they absolutely should have heard earlier. Ryan stared at me. Claire stared at Noah. I stared at Noah's hand on my arm. Logan blinked. "Boyfriend?" "Yes," Noah said cheerfully. "Ethan." I nearly dropped my lemonade. Somehow, I managed to smile until Logan walked away. Then I caught Noah near the hallway. "Have you lost your mind?" I whispered. "Possibly. You just told my brother that we are dating." "Technically," I told Logan. "Your brother happened to have ears." I folded my arms. "Fix it." Noah's playful expression faded. "I need 1 week." I stared at him. "What?" 7 days. Logan keeps trying to turn our friendship into something it is not, and he is connected to half my social circle. I need him to understand that I am unavailable without turning this visit into a giant argument. "So you invented a boyfriend?" I panicked. "And chose me." Noah looked directly into my eyes. "You were standing there." That answer bothered me more than it should have. 7 days, he continued. "Then I leave Seattle, and you can go back to pretending I annoy you." "You do annoy me." His smile returned. "Perfect. Then falling for me should be impossible." I should have walked away. Instead, I heard myself say, "Fine." 7 days. Noah held out his hand. "We need rules." "Absolutely. No kissing. Obviously. No sharing a bed. Definitely." His eyes sparkled as he added the last one. "And no falling in love." I shook his hand. "That will be the easiest rule." Noah smiled like he knew something I did not. At the time, I thought 7 days sounded short. I had no idea how much could change in 1 week. By Monday morning, I had convinced myself the arrangement would require almost no effort. Noah would tell Logan we were dating. I would confirm it if anyone asked, and 7 days later we would return to our normal lives. That fantasy lasted until Claire invited everyone to brunch. I arrived at a crowded cafe near Green Lake and found Noah waiting outside beneath a gray Seattle sky, his camera hanging from his shoulder. "You are late," he said. "I am 3 minutes early." A good boyfriend would be 10 minutes early. A real boyfriend might be. Noah grinned and reached for my hand. I instinctively pulled back. "What are you doing?" "Logan is inside." Through the window, I spotted him sitting beside Ryan and Claire. Noah lifted his eyebrows. "Unless you want our relationship to last approximately 14 hours, you should probably hold my hand." I sighed and offered mine. His fingers slipped between mine with such casual confidence that I forgot what I had planned to say. His hand was warm. That should not have mattered. It did. We walked inside together, and Claire immediately noticed. Her smile became suspiciously delighted. Ryan looked less delighted. "So," my brother said after we sat down, "how exactly did this happen?" "Very naturally," Noah answered. "Extremely naturally," I added. Claire leaned forward. "Who asked whom out?" Noah looked at me. I looked at Noah. We had forgotten to establish a backstory. "Ethan did," Noah said. "Noah did." I said at exactly the same time. Ryan slowly lowered his coffee. "Convincing." "Under." "The table," Noah nudged my shoe with his. "He asked first," Noah corrected smoothly. "But I was the one who actually suggested dinner." "That is true," I said, because apparently lying before breakfast was part of my life now. Somehow we survived the interrogation. I even started enjoying myself until Noah noticed my collar was folded beneath my jacket. Without thinking, he leaned closer and fixed it. His fingers brushed lightly against the fabric near my neck. The cafe seemed strangely quieter for half a second. "There," he said. "Now you look presentable." I looked presentable before. "That is generous." Claire smiled into her coffee. Logan watched us from across the table, and I remembered we had an audience. So when Noah reached for his orange juice, I rested my hand against the back of his chair. It was supposed to look convincing. Nothing more. Later, after brunch, Ryan and Claire walked ahead toward the parking lot while Logan left in the opposite direction. The performance was over. Noah and I were alone on the sidewalk. I should have moved my hand away. Instead, when Noah reached for me again, I let him. We walked nearly half a block before I realized our fingers were still intertwined. "Logan is gone," I said. Noah glanced behind us. "He is." Neither of us let go. A light drizzle began falling, collecting in Noah's hair. He looked at our joined hands, then up at me. Are we still pretending? The sensible answer was yes. I had rules. I had boundaries. I had spent years making sure my life stayed uncomplicated. Instead, I said, we are walking to the car. Noah smiled. That was not an answer. It is the only one you are getting. When we reached my car, he finally released my hand. The sudden absence of his warmth surprised me. Noah lifted his camera and took a picture before I could object. What was that for? Day 2, he said. I am documenting our terrible relationship. Delete it. Never. He climbed into the passenger seat, still smiling. I stood outside for another second, staring at the hand he had been holding. The first rule had not technically been broken. Somehow, that made what was happening feel even more dangerous. By Tuesday, Noah had somehow become part of my morning before I had decided whether I wanted him there. At 7:30, my phone buzzed with a message telling me that any respectable boyfriend would provide coffee. At 7:45, I found him outside a small cafe near my apartment, wearing a navy jacket and holding his camera like it belonged to him more naturally than a watch belonged to anyone else. You invited yourself, I reminded him. And yet you came. He had a point, which irritated me. We bought coffee and walked toward the lake, where the morning air smelled like wet pavement and cedar trees. There was no Logan nearby, no Claire, no Ryan, no audience at all. That should have made the performance unnecessary, but neither of us seemed interested in going home. Noah stopped every few minutes to photograph something ordinary. A bicycle leaning against a railing, a dog watching ducks, sunlight breaking through gray clouds onto the water. Why photograph things nobody notices? I asked. Noah lowered the camera. Because nobody notices them. He said it so simply that I had no clever response. Later, he followed me back to my apartment after declaring that my refrigerator was probably a humanitarian emergency. He was correct. We bought groceries and made grilled cheese sandwiches with tomato soup because Noah insisted complicated food was unnecessary on rainy days. Somewhere between arguing about the correct amount of butter and watching him search through my cabinets, I realized he looked strangely comfortable in my kitchen. That realization should have bothered me. Instead, I found myself smiling. Noah immediately lifted his camera. Do not. Click. You smiled. Delete that. Absolutely not. By afternoon, rain tapped steadily against the windows. Noah sat on my couch, sorting photographs while I worked at the dining table. For nearly 20 minutes, neither of us spoke. It was not awkward. That was what unsettled me most. Pretending to date Noah was supposed to feel artificial. Sitting quietly with him felt easier than most real dates I had experienced. When I finally looked up, he had fallen asleep with the camera beside him. His head rested against the couch cushion, and one sock had somehow disappeared. I found a blanket in the hallway closet and placed it over him. As I turned away, Noah spoke without opening his eyes. I knew you liked me. You are asleep. I can multitask. I laughed before I could stop myself. His eyes opened, and for once he did not make a joke. There it is again. What? The real smile. I returned to my chair. You analyze people too much. Occupational hazard. You are still a student. Future occupational hazard. The room grew quiet again. Then Noah asked, have you ever wanted someone you knew you should not? The question sounded casual, but his fingers stopped moving over the camera. I thought about my last serious relationship, about how carefully I had built my life afterward, and about the man sitting 12 feet away making that careful life feel unexpectedly empty. Yes, I said. Noah looked toward the rain. What happened? I decided wanting something did not mean it was good for me. He nodded slowly. That sounds lonely. I looked at him then. Really looked at him. Sometimes. Noah turned toward me, and our eyes met across the room. For once, neither of us smiled. I almost asked why he had brought it up, but his phone buzzed before I could. He checked the screen and stood. Claire wants me home for dinner. The moment disappeared. At the door, Noah lifted his camera one last time. No more pictures, I said. This one is not of you. He pointed the lens toward my apartment, toward the couch, the 2 coffee cups, and the blanket he had left folded over the cushion. Click. What are you calling that one? I asked. Noah looked at the image for a long second. Something ordinary. Then he left, and for the first time, my apartment felt quieter after Noah was gone than it had before he arrived. Wednesday evening was supposed to be easy. Claire had invited us to a rooftop gathering downtown, and all Noah and I had to do was appear together, smile occasionally, and maintain our increasingly questionable story. I arrived straight from work and found Noah near the windows with his camera hanging at his side. He saw me and smiled, and the ridiculous thing was that my entire day seemed to improve in that exact second. Before I could reach him, Logan stepped into my path. "Ethan." His tone was friendly enough. "Good to see you." "You too." I looked past him. Noah was talking with two friends, unaware of us. Logan followed my gaze. "You know, I have known Noah for years." "I know." "Then you probably know he does not like feeling trapped." Something in his wording bothered me. "What exactly are you trying to say?" Logan shrugged. "Nothing. I was surprised, that is all. Noah never mentioned dating you before Sunday." Things change. Apparently very quickly. Before I could answer, Claire called Logan away. I told myself to forget the conversation. Then I saw him return to Noah 15 minutes later. Logan leaned against the railing beside him, speaking quietly. Noah laughed at something he said. It was an ordinary laugh. I had heard it dozens of times. Suddenly, I hated hearing Logan cause it. That reaction made no sense. Noah was not actually my boyfriend. Logan could talk to him. Noah could laugh with anyone he wanted. In 3 days, none of this would matter. I repeated those facts until Logan placed a casual hand on Noah's shoulder. My feet started moving before my brain approved the decision. "There you are," I said when I reached them. Noah looked surprised. "Here I am." I rested my hand lightly against the back of his chair. Logan noticed immediately. "We were talking about Friday." "Sounds exciting." Noah looked between us. "Ethan, are you all right?" "Perfect." Logan smiled as if he had discovered something entertaining. "I should let you two enjoy the evening." After he walked away, Noah turned toward me. "What was that?" "What was what?" "Whatever strange territorial performance you just gave." I was being convincing. "Logan already believes us." "Good." Noah studied my face. "Then why were you glaring at his hand?" I looked toward the skyline. "I was not." "You absolutely were. You imagined things." "I photograph people, Ethan. Watching faces is basically my entire life." I should have made a joke. Instead, I said, "He likes you." Noah's expression softened. "I know." That answer bothered me even more. And I already told you I do not feel that way about him." "Right." Noah stepped closer. "Why do you care?" There it was, the question I had spent 4 days avoiding. Music drifted through the room behind us while traffic moved 20 stories below. Noah waited. "Because we have an arrangement," I finally said. His smile disappeared. "Of course." He turned toward the railing. I immediately regretted the answer. "Noah, it is fine." That did not sound fine. He looked back at me. Was any of that real? "What? Walking over here? Looking at Logan like that? Putting your hand behind me? Was that part of the act?" My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Noah gave a small nod as if my silence had answered for me. Then he lifted his camera and photographed the city instead. For the rest of the evening, we stood close enough to convince everyone else and somehow farther apart than we had been all week. When I drove home alone, I finally admitted the truth I had refused to name. I had not crossed that room because Logan doubted our relationship. I had crossed it because for one irrational moment, watching someone else make Noah smile had felt like losing something I had already started thinking of as mine. Thursday arrived with rain so steady that Seattle seemed to disappear behind a curtain of gray. I spent most of the morning pretending to work and most of the afternoon wondering whether Noah was still upset about the night before. At 5:30, I finally stopped pretending I did not care and drove to Ryan and Claire's house. Noah opened the door wearing a faded college sweatshirt, his camera strap looped around one hand. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Apologizing badly. That earned the smallest hint of a smile. "At least you were self-aware." Claire and Ryan were out picking up dinner, so Noah stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind him. "You did not owe me an explanation, Ethan." "Maybe I owe myself one." His expression changed. Before I could lose my nerve, I said, "I was jealous." The word felt embarrassingly large once it was outside my head. Noah stared at me. "Of Logan?" "I would prefer not to repeat it." "I might need you to." "Do not. Push your luck." His smile returned, softer this time. Then the rain intensified, drumming against the porch roof while wind carried a cold mist toward us. Noah glanced down the street. "Walk with me." "In this weather?" "You live in Seattle." 10 minutes later, we were sharing one umbrella and failing badly at staying dry. Noah led me toward a neighborhood overlook where the city lights blurred beautifully through the rain. We stopped beneath the awning of a closed bookstore, standing close enough that I could hear him breathing between the sounds of passing cars. "Can I tell you something embarrassing?" Noah asked. "That depends on how embarrassing." He looked down at his camera. "I had a crush on you years ago. I thought I had misunderstood him." "On me? Do not sound so shocked. You spent most family dinners insulting me. I was 19. That was sophisticated flirting." I laughed, but Noah did not. "I knew nothing would happen. You were older, you barely noticed me, and I was Claire's annoying little brother. So I got over it." He paused. "Mostly." The last word changed everything. "Noah, you do not have to say anything. We only have 2 days left anyway." I hated the way he said it, like an ending had already been decided for us. "What if I want to say something?" His eyes lifted to mine. Every clever answer disappeared. I thought about Monday, when holding his hand had felt unexpectedly natural. Tuesday, when my apartment had felt warmer simply because he was inside it. Wednesday, when jealousy had exposed a truth I was not ready to admit. "I noticed you," I said quietly. Noah swallowed. "When?" "Sunday." "That recently?" "I am apparently slow." He laughed once, nervous and relieved. "Very slow." For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I leaned closer, slowly enough to give him every chance to step away. He stayed. Our kiss was brief and gentle, more question than declaration, but when I pulled back, the whole week seemed different. Noah stared at me with wide eyes. "That was definitely against the rules." "I know. You made the rules." "I know that too." He smiled, and this time I did not look away. The rain kept falling beyond the awning. Cars kept passing, and somewhere across the city thousands of ordinary Thursday nights continued exactly as planned. Mine had just stopped being ordinary. Noah lifted his camera, then hesitated. "No picture?" I asked. He lowered it. "Not this one." "Why?" His eyes stayed on mine. "Because I want to remember it without looking through a lens." I should have been happy. Instead, something about his words unsettled me, as though Noah was already preparing to turn this week into a memory. I did not understand why yet. By the next morning, I would. Friday morning, I woke up thinking about the kiss and smiling like a man who had temporarily misplaced his common sense. For once, I did not fight it. I made coffee, checked my phone twice for a message from Noah, then decided I would ask him to dinner somewhere that did not involve pretending for anyone. A real dinner. No Logan, no family audience, no rules. At 11, Noah texted that he had left his camera charger at my apartment. I found it beside the couch and offered to bring it over. Claire answered the door and told me Noah was upstairs packing. "Packing?" I asked. She gave me a strange look. "For New York." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean, New York?" Claire stared at me for a second. "His photography program. He leaves Sunday morning." "I thought you knew." I did not remember climbing the stairs. I only remembered reaching Noah's room and seeing an open suitcase on the bed. Shirts were folded beside it. A camera bag sat on the floor. On the desk was a printed airline itinerary. Seattle to New York. Sunday. One way. Noah turned from the closet and froze. "Ethan." I held up the charger. "You forgot this." His eyes moved from my hand to my face, and he immediately understood. "Claire told you." Apparently everyone knew except me. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "Today." I looked at the suitcase. Suddenly, every strange detail from the week rearranged itself into something painfully obvious. The photographs. His questions about wanting someone you should not. The way he kept talking about 7 days as though the deadline meant more than our ridiculous arrangement. The 7 days were never really about Logan. I said. Noah looked down. "Not entirely." "You were leaving." "Yes." "And you knew from the beginning." "Yes." I laughed once, but there was nothing funny in it. "So what was this week, Noah?" "A farewell tour." His expression tightened. "That is not fair. You asked me to pretend to be your boyfriend because you knew there was an expiration date. I asked because I panicked with Logan. The timing was real. Everything after that just happened, including last night." Noah looked directly at me. "Especially last night." That answer should have helped. Instead, it made everything harder. "Why did you not tell me?" I asked. "Because at first it did not matter. We were pretending. Then it started mattering too much." He stepped closer. "I got accepted months ago. This is the opportunity one have worked toward for years. I was always going. I am not asking you to stay." "Then what are you asking?" I had no answer. That was the worst part. Noah's eyes softened, but his voice did not. Yesterday you could barely admit you were jealous. Now you are angry because I am leaving. What exactly do you want from me, Ethan? I do not know. Noah nodded slowly. That is the problem. The room went quiet. Outside, a delivery truck rolled past the house, ordinary and distant. I looked at the suitcase again. So Sunday morning, you just disappear? I am not disappearing. I am moving. 3,000 miles away. For my future. I know. Noah folded his arms, suddenly looking more tired than angry. You keep acting like I hid this to hurt you. I hid it because I knew this week had an ending before you even decided it had a beginning. The words landed harder than I expected. I set the charger on his desk. Maybe we should stop pretending now. Noah's face changed. Is that what you want? It was not. Every part of me knew it was not. But fear was easier than honesty. Maybe it is better. Noah looked at me for several seconds, then nodded. Okay. I walked downstairs alone. My phone still showed the dinner reservation I had made that morning. 2 people, 7 o'clock. I canceled it from my car. For the first time all week, the countdown felt real, and we had managed to end things before it even reached 0. Saturday morning brought me back to the exact place where the week had begun to feel impossible to escape. Noah was asleep on the other side of my bed, still wearing the clothes he had arrived in after midnight, when he had shown up at my apartment because neither of us wanted our last conversation to be the one in his bedroom. We had talked for hours. Nothing dramatic, nothing solved. We talked about New York, Seattle, photography, architecture, fear, timing, and all the ordinary things people discuss when the one subject they cannot quite touch is goodbye. Eventually, exhaustion won. Now pale morning light crossed the room, and my phone showed the words I had been dreading. Day 7. When Noah opened his eyes, he caught me watching him. You are staring again, Ethan. I am not staring. You have been saying that all week. It was the same exchange we had shared hours earlier, except now I understood why his smile looked sad. Noah sat up and rubbed his eyes. I should go. I wanted to say no. Instead, I nodded. He folded the blanket, put on his shoes, and checked the room twice to make sure he had everything. At the front door, he removed my spare key from his pocket. I had given it to him on Tuesday after he locked himself out while carrying groceries upstairs. He placed it in my palm. Such a small object should not have felt so heavy. Thank you, he said. For what? Noah gave me a quiet smile. For being a really good fake boyfriend. I almost corrected him. I almost told him none of it had felt fake after Monday. But fear arrived first, familiar and efficient. And by the time I found the right words, Noah was already walking toward his car. I watched him leave without stopping him. My apartment became unbearably quiet. 2 coffee mugs sat in the sink. The blanket Noah had used was folded on the couch. Everything looked ordinary, which somehow made it worse. Then I noticed his camera on the dining table. Noah, I muttered, reaching for my phone. Before I called him, the camera screen lit when I touched it. A folder was open. Day 1. Against my better judgment, I looked. The first photograph showed me at Ryan and Claire's house, holding a pie and staring toward someone outside the frame. Day 2 showed me beside my car after brunch, trying not to smile. Day 3 showed me cooking in my kitchen. Day 4 showed me at the rooftop gathering, but I was not looking at the camera. I was looking at Noah. Day 5 was different. There was no photograph of our kiss. Instead, Noah had captured the rain beyond the bookstore awning. City lights blurred into gold. Day 6 showed an open suitcase on his bed. I kept scrolling until I found the final folder. Day 7. Empty. I stared at those 2 words until my vision blurred. Noah had documented everything except the ending. Then I understood something that made my chest ache. He had never been collecting proof that our relationship was fake. He had been collecting proof that it happened. I picked up my phone and saw a message from Claire sent 10 minutes earlier. Noah had forgotten his camera, but he was already on his way to the airport. His flight left at 9:40. I looked at the empty Day 7 folder again. For 6 days, Noah had photographed me becoming someone who smiled more, noticed more, wanted more. Yet on the 7th day, I had given him nothing worth remembering. I grabbed my keys, his camera, and my jacket. For years, I had believed avoiding uncertainty was the same thing as protecting myself. Standing in that silent apartment, I finally understood the cost. Noah was not asking me to stop him from having a future. He had only been waiting to learn whether I wanted to be part of it. I locked the door behind me and headed for the airport. The countdown had reached its final day, But for the first time all week, I was done letting the clock decide what happened next. The drive to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport should have taken 25 minutes. Saturday traffic turned it into 37, which gave me far too much time to imagine every possible way I could arrive too late. I kept Noah's camera on the passenger seat and checked the dashboard clock at every red light. 8:53. His flight left at 9:40. By the time I parked and reached the terminal, I was breathing like I had run several miles. Instead of crossing a parking garage, travelers moved around me with rolling suitcases and paper coffee cups, everyone heading somewhere while I stood searching for one person. Then I saw him near the security entrance. Noah had his backpack over one shoulder and his suitcase beside him. Claire and Ryan stood nearby, saying goodbye. Claire noticed me first. Her eyes widened. Then she quietly pulled Ryan away before my brother could ask questions. Noah turned. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I held up his camera. You forgot something. He looked at it, then at me. You drove all the way here for my camera? No. That answer erased the small smile from his face. I walked closer. I came because I finally figured out what I should have said yesterday. Noah glanced toward the security line. Ethan, my flight boards soon. Then I should probably stop wasting time. My heart was pounding, but for once I did not search for the safest words. Go to New York. Noah blinked. What? Take the program. Build the career you worked for. Photograph every strange building and every overpriced cup of coffee you can find. His expression became confused. You came here to tell me to leave? I came here to tell you that leaving Seattle does not have to mean leaving me. Noah went completely still. I continued before fear could interrupt. I spent this entire week treating 7 days like a boundary because boundaries are easy for me. They tell me where things stop. They keep everything predictable. I looked down at the camera in my hands. Then I saw your pictures. Noah's eyes widened. You looked through them? I am sorry. You should be. Probably. But I saw Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I saw myself changing before I was willing to admit anything had changed. I handed him the camera. The Day 7 folder is empty. Noah looked at the screen without turning it on. I did not know how today would end. Neither did I. I took a breath. But I know how I want tomorrow to begin. His eyes met mine. What are you saying? I am saying I want to try. Long distance, weekend flights, terrible video calls, whatever it takes. I am not asking you to give up New York, and I am not promising it will always be easy. I am only asking you to stop calling what happened between us pretend. Noah stared at me for several seconds. Then his eyes filled with a warmth that made the crowded terminal seem strangely quiet. You really are slow, he said. I laughed. I have been told. He stepped closer and gave me a gentle kiss, brief enough to be almost shy. When he pulled away, he lifted his camera. Stay there. Seriously? For once, do what your boyfriend says. The word boyfriend landed differently now. I smiled. Noah raised the camera. Click. He checked the photograph and nodded. There. Day 7. I asked. He shook his head. No. Day 8. It is still Saturday. Do not ruin the moment with facts. I laughed again. A boarding announcement echoed through the terminal, and Noah glanced toward security. This time, goodbye did not feel like an ending. He hugged me, promised to call when he landed, then started toward the line. Halfway there, he turned and lifted the camera once more. Click. I stood watching until he disappeared into the crowd. The next morning, a photograph arrived on my phone from New York. Sunrise between tall buildings, washed in gold. Beneath it, Noah had written 4 words. Our first real day. I looked around my quiet apartment and smiled. For 1 week, I had been counting down toward losing him. I finally understood that love was never supposed to be a countdown. Sometimes the bravest thing 2 people could do was reach 0 and choose to keep counting.